Well, good afternoon. It's great to see you and to be gathered here. What a special occasion. Since Edmond was founded, was a Methodist presence here in this community, this church being the long legacy of Methodist here in Edmond. We're thankful to be able to gather in this space, to be with one another, to enjoy an afternoon of music, and to remember how this space has touched our lives. And these windows and the light in particular, coming in the afternoon, we get to see the full beauty of the colors that they bring in, and that's a wonderful thing. As we're here, someone had asked me, and I know we're going to have a more formal pitch than this later, but if you wanted to write a check to make a contribution toward the production or the reproducing, what is it? The restoration. There it is. I worked hard this morning. Give me a break, you know. The restoration of the windows. You would make that to the First United Methodist Church, and in the memo, if you just put windows or you put preserving the legacy, all of those ways it would get to the right place of funding. It's an honor to have you here. As a pastor, I get to stand in this place and represent the congregation and part of this history, but it would be remiss if we didn't just take a moment to highlight some of the former pastors we have here. David Sevier is here, Bert Potts, and I saw Sam Powers come in. There's Sam. I don't think I missed anyone else. I know that Chuck Nordine is in France right now, so we should feel really sorry for him. But we're here to celebrate the legacy of this church and how we preserve it moving forward. So with that, I just want to share a welcome and extend, just on behalf of the whole congregation, our gratitude for your being here today.
Well, that should dispel any notion that Bach didn't have a good sense of humor and like to dance on his feet a little bit. It's his fugue in G major, and it's been nicknamed the Jig Fugue for a very good reason. That piece has nothing to do with Windows. I just thought you'd enjoy it. But we will be discussing Windows and listening to music based on Windows and hymns that pick up through various symbolism that's found through the windows. And so this program is all structured around the windows of this beautiful sanctuary minus that piece. We're going to be actually starting off with a window that we're going to have to imagine because it's this one right here. I always got a huge kick out of it because organists as a whole, I'm not saying I'm one of them, but they like to imbibe a little bit. Just be careful saying that in a Methodist church. And I love that the light from the Women's Christian Temperance Union would always just float down onto the organ console around happy hour time. So in all seriousness, this church, there's been one big celebrity that's visited Edmund First. Probably the biggest celebrity of all time to visit this church. Does anyone know who it was? Don't think too hard about this. Any historians? Michael, I got this from the video that you made with your mom. Carrie Nation herself, the lady with the axe, who would go in the bars and smash all the glasses and things like that. She actually came here to First Methodist Church when we were down on Broadway and Heard and gave a speech. I don't know if the axe was involved. I hope not. But that's kind of a neat piece of history. So the Women's Christian Temperance Union had a very, very active chapter here in Edmond, and it was quite an active thing all throughout the state of Oklahoma. So it's not a surprise that one of our windows is dedicated to that sort of long-forgotten cause. Following that hymn, we'll sing, and I was going to say, Stand Up for Jesus, is one of the hymns that were in one of the Christian Temperance Union books. I did some research on this, and I found lots of really interesting songs. My favorite was The Lips That Touch the Whiskey Shall Never Touch Mine. Was in the, like hundreds of songs just like this. So we're going to sing a Christian version, a hymn that they used as part of their movement, Stand Up for Jesus. And then following that, we're going to be celebrating a window that we can see. And we actually have two Dove windows, Pentecost windows. There's one in the east wing over there. Paul's showing it off. And then another one of a dove over here. So we'll hear a setting of Every Time I Feel a Spirit by the African-American composer Adolphus Hailstork. But let's stand up. Can't sing this one sitting down. As you are able, please stand up, and we'll sing Stand Up for Jesus. Next window, Ann Stewart said I had to talk about it, so I'm not going to get in trouble, is the Noah's Ark window, which is another one we're going to have to imagine, because I believe it's over there. You're not missing out on much. It's a little emblem with a little ark and some water, if you are wondering what it is. So we'll be celebrating that with the hymn, My Hope is Built on Nothing Less Than Jesus' Blood and Righteousness. Following that, we're going to celebrate probably the most iconic of all the windows in this sanctuary, and that is the Good Shepherd window in the balcony. Now you can all go look at it. It's a shepherd. And then after that, we're going to sing a song that, we sang my first Palm Sunday here. I don't know if we did after subsequent ones, but palm branches. We celebrate Palm Sunday. And you might be wondering where in the world those palm branches might be. Anyone can guess in the church? That's actually covered by the balcony. There are symbols when you leave today, go by and crane your neck up there, and you will be able to see the palm branches. It's a neat window. And of course, when it comes out, you'll get to see pictures of it too. So it is kind of visible if you look really closely. So enjoy. We'll sing. You can stay seated for the next three. My Hope is Built on Nothing Less, and then a very famous setting of Sheep May Safely Graze from one of Bach's cantatas, and then Tell Me the Stories of Jesus.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Seabrook, and I'm part of the Stained Glass Committee, and I want to give you a little bit of background on where we started this whole project. First of all, my family first started coming here about 8 years ago, and we would come to love the people, but when you first come in the building, it's a little scary. And just the feeling of this sanctuary, we already felt like we'd found our church home. Just the glow of the light through the windows and the warmth of the wood, it just really gave us a feeling this was the place we wanted to be. So a couple years ago on trustees, Amy, we knew there were problems with leaking in the windows. I believe Andrew got rain splattered occasionally while playing the organ there. And Amy had gotten a postcard about a company that restores stained glass windows. And she said, hey, can you just check this out? So we did, and we found out we were just in time to avoid disaster with the windows. So we looked at that company who was out of state and travels and does that work, and it's a very good company. And then we happened to also find a man in Edmond named Tim Brown with Artistic Glass, who also happens to be a very fine stained glass artist. And I don't know if he was able to be here. He is. Well, Tim, I would love for you to come up. Please welcome Tim Brown, our artist.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you all for trusting us to restore the windows in this church. It's a beautiful church. You have beautiful windows here. Just a little bit about the windows, the glass, and they are leaded glass windows, which is the traditional way of making stained glass for 1,000 or so years. We just got back from a trip to Germany and France and Switzerland and saw several cathedrals, Strasbourg and Mainz, and just marvel at all the huge cathedrals over in Europe, but this one compares quite well to it. The glass in your windows are from several companies. One, Kokomo Opalescent Glass from Kokomo, Indiana, and the other was Paul Wismott Glass from Padden, West Virginia. And then in the Good Shepherd window, there's a lot of antique, hand-blown antique glass from Germany and France. And then all the details are hand-painted on the glass, and they're fired in the kiln so that they become permanent, so they'll last 1,000 years or more. So we have taken the two windows out. I didn't know that we were going to feature those windows in the program, or we'd have taken something else out. But so we've taken those back to the studio and begun cleaning them, disassembling them. We number everything. We take a pattern of all the lead lines before we take things apart, and keep everything as close together as possible so that it can go back the same way. And we'll put new lead on it, and then as soon as we get those disassembled, we'll start working on the frames, which is going to be a big part of this job. Disassembling the frames, repairing and replacing the wood that's damaged, and then matching the paint and the stain on the inside and the outside. And then the process of putting those windows back together, that takes a little bit of time. We use lead that's better than what was probably used to start with. It should last 300 years before they would have to be redone again. And then we'll put new protective frames on the outside and put tempered glass so that hail and wind can't damage them. So once we're done, these windows should last a good long time. I think that's about all.
Good afternoon, everybody. Is this not an incredible concert that we're hearing? Yes. I think all of us can just have so many stories about what these stained glass windows mean to us. And it could be Easter morning when you come in here and you see the sunlight, or you come here for Christmas Eve and all of a sudden you see all of the candlelight. It's just, there's so many memories every time that you step in this sanctuary, and it involves these stained glass windows. So we're so excited that we were able to find someone that can preserve this legacy for us, so future generations. I mean, when you think of how many generations have enjoyed these stained glass windows, we want the same amount to go forward to enjoy the stained glass windows. It's such a gift that we have, and we want to preserve them. And I've got to say a great big thank you to Amy, who is sitting over there by the wall. Who is our business manager and so much more, but she really put the Stained Glass Committee on the path because of all of her work that she did to raise the money and to get us started and to find the people. And so did Kim, and so did Will, and so did Ann and Ron. There were so many great people that helped on this committee. So we want to say thank you for that. We want to say thank you that we do have this incredible gift, that we have the stewardship to continue. Do have a correction in the bulletin. We do say that we've raised $165,000. The goal is $210,000, so we can finish all of this. That number's incorrect. We've actually raised $170,000 as of this morning. So we are so excited about that, and I think it just really shows the commitment of this congregation to continuing the legacy of these. So what I want you to do now is raise your hand if you all have learned something about the stained glass that you didn't know before from Andrew. All of us. Yeah, okay. See, that's why we had him back. He was like, who else knows those nerdy facts but Andrew? So the next thing is, I wondered when you all walked in and you knew why we were here, how many felt like your heart was being touched because of what these stained glass windows mean to you and your families? It's been amazing, all of the stories we've heard from families of weddings, of Christmas Eve, people gathering here, and the stained glass was always part of that story. But we also just have to get to practicality, so that's why I'm up here. Now we want to touch your wallet. We want to get you all to give some money here because we are so dang close to finishing this project up. We're going to have an offering as soon as I give a prayer that we will finish this up soon. So anyway, I just want you to know that every dollar that you can honestly share will be so appreciated. And it'll be not just appreciated by people who come here in the next year or the next year, but for generations. So thank you very much, and we will have a quick prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much for what you've given us. It was perfect to have Scott's sermon today about we're on holy ground, we're on sacred ground. We know that. We know this sanctuary has been a source of comfort, a source of hope, a source of new beginnings in so many people's lives. And the stained glass has always been there to shine upon that. So thank you, Lord, and bless this offering we are about to receive. Thank you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I just want to let you know, Lisa, you stole all of my talking points for my speech later, so you'll have to forgive me because you'll hear that spiel again from me at the end. But as the offering's being taken forward, I will talk a little bit. You guys can come. I'll talk a little bit about the next piece. It's one of my favorites, actually. And it's, if you translate it to English, it goes out to Rose Window. And Henri Moulet was a French composer. Oh, you can go. Take the offering. Don't wait for me. I didn't expect, you expected me to give the 40,000 or what? But I'm just a lowly church worker. No, anyway, Henri Moulet was a French composer, died in 1960. So, I mean, in terms of the long arc of music, a relatively contemporary composer. He wrote a suite called the Byzantine Sketches, and he was inspired by the Byzantine architecture he would see throughout Europe. And so each movement is a different scene from Byzantine architecture or what happened in some of these cathedrals. There's a procession. There's one movement entitled Campanile, which means the bells. But this movement I'm going to play today is called the Rose Window. And so I thought it would be fun to honor some of the windows that we walk past all the time and don't think about through this piece. And that is the windows that are sort of in the stairwell. You can't see them, don't look. Unless you're in the balcony, the stairwell that leads, there's these beautiful little tiny gems of windows that have no symbolism in them. They're just there to beautify and light up the space. So this piece is in their honor. And then following the Rose Window, we will sing together, Let Us Break Bread Together. There are several windows with symbolism of Holy Communion. One of them is, Paul, you're just in the right place today. The cup over there in the east wing, and then also there's grains of wheat over here by the organ. So we'll celebrate the communion windows. All right. Well, I'm glad you still remember how to sing. That's really good. Makes me happy. So, how many of you knew that Charles Wesley wrote music for the organ before today? And don't lie to me. Oh, okay. One or two or three. Yeah, okay. There are a few organists in the room. Yeah, they didn't write much. This is not going to be the most thrilling piece of music you've ever heard in your life, which may shock you. But no, in addition to writing a whole plethora of exceptional hymn texts and reforming the church and all that, he found time to write some pieces for organ. And I thought it'd be fun to share one of those with you today to celebrate the Epworth League window, which is which one? You can point. No one knows. All right, it's that one right over there. And if you look, when you get up to leave, you can see an E and an L, and it says look up and lift up, I believe, which was the motto of the Epworth League there. So were there any of you that were in Epworth League, like back in the day? No? All right. I don't know when the Epworth League ceased to exist, so you'll have to forgive me if that was an insult to some of you. But anyway, Epworth League, if most of you have no idea what I'm talking about, was a precursor to the youth group. So it was kind of like Methodist Boy Scouts. What's that? Abby Boatman was in Epworth League. All right. What was it like, Abby? I'm putting you on the spot. No? Okay. I think it was a glorified youth group. Was that fair to say? Yeah, okay. All right, very good. So we're going to celebrate a little bit of Wesleyan heritage through a piece by Charles Wesley. And then following that, we will celebrate the 3 lancet windows. Can you guess where those are? Yeah, right. Those are called lancet windows, and they were really popular in Gothic architecture. You'll find them in all sorts of cathedrals in Europe, and I believe they're called lancet windows because if you turn them upside down, it's sort of like a shield. Is that right, Tim? Oh, so I got that right. All right, so we'll celebrate the 3 great windows up there, singing the hymn "To God Be the Glory." So after this riveting Wesley piece, I will invite you to all stand and we'll sing "To God Be the Glory." I don't know if you're clapping for yourselves or what. You're the one that did all the heavy lifting on that one. I'm going to be playing one last piece for you today. This is Caroline de Westminster by Louis Vierne. Louis Vierne was the organist for many years at the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. And he was inspired by the bells. He traveled all throughout the world and he heard the Westminster chime. And if you know what the Westminster chime is, you'll hear it immediately and realize what it is. So I won't bother going and playing it for you right now. This piece is not specifically about windows, but it is sort of as in a roundabout way. I picked it because I don't know about you, but I have watched with great delight and interest the restoration of Notre Dame Cathedral over the past, 3 years now. And one of the things that really fascinates me, besides the organ, of course, is the care with which they have had to remove all of the windows from the cathedral to do exactly what we're doing to these windows, and that is to re-lead them, to clean them, and things like that. What really fascinates me, though, about all of it is that some of those pieces of glass date from the 1300s. And as Tim was talking about, these windows will last 300 years or, 600 or 700 years. It seems unfathomable to us, but you can go to France and see this very thing. And so another thing it's kind of interesting is that archaeologists have used the imagery, because some windows have, like the Good Shepherd window, a human, a character. And so they've used this to try to figure out what people in the Middle Ages actually looked like through this artwork. So it's quite an incredible piece of history. I don't know about you all, but the last several years have been pretty difficult ones for all of us for a variety of reasons. But COVID being, of course, one of them, it shut down a lot of our churches. And I spent a lot of time in an empty church for a few years, surrounded by nothing but silence and stained glass windows. And I have to say that they gave me a great deal of comfort during those dark and lonely days. And what I really love about history, everyone says I'm a history nerd, and that's true. But what I love is that all of our sorrows and our pains and our joys and everything, I take comfort in knowing that these windows have seen them all before. We think about these windows sitting here through the bust in the Great Depression, through the Dust Bowl when members of this congregation left town. Think about all the social unrest in the 50s and 60s. I could go on and on. The Oklahoma City bombing. They've really been here, though, and they've seen all of our sorrows, and they've given us comfort in times of sorrows. They have given us an air of joy. I cannot think of how many wedding pictures, including my own, have been taken in front of this great window here. As Lisa was saying, they have been present for our baptisms and for the funerals of our loved ones to provide light and comfort. And in a time when so many churches are built with no windows at all, and as Pastor Scott was saying, spotlights on the pastor and everyone else sits in darkness, this is almost countercultural to have windows in a church. And so I hope you celebrate that and continue this legacy and get to this goal. It would be the most wonderful thing if I got a phone call from Amy saying that this worked and we're all done and could move on to the next big project, right? I keep teasing Amy, it's going to be the organ. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I kid. Knock on wood. But no, it'd be wonderful to get this goal done, and I hope that you give generously of your time, talent, and treasure to not only further the mission of this church, but specifically to get this window project done. It's been such a delight to be here with you both this morning for the worship services and also for this concert. I did want to thank Pastor Scott and especially Amy for the gracious invitation, and Esther for turning my pages. Give her a hand. It's so exciting to hear the choir this morning, and I told Esther afterwards. I was immediately jealous of her because I said just after 2 weeks she was making these beautiful gestures with her hands and showing dynamics, and the choir was actually responding to them and like looking at her. And I don't know about you, but that was a battle that I had for a while with this choir. So you are very blessed to be here, and you are blessed to be here, and you are a blessing to us here at Edmund First. So thank you, Esther. So without further ado, you can close your eyes and fall asleep. But picture the great Cathedral of Notre Dame as you hear Louis Vierne's Caroline de Westminster. And Don will send us off with the benediction after the piece. And Tim, I believe, and I will be greeting people in Wesley Hall, so you can ask us all sorts of questions and stuff. So anyway, thank you once again for having me.
Yes, as Andrew mentioned, he and Tim Brown are heading to the reception area. We hope all of you will join them and say something to them about what it meant to you to be here today. I just want to mention a couple of things as they go their way. It's so wonderful when people of the covenant come together and celebrate our connection. We know that God is with us. We know when we do God's ministry, great things happen. And I don't know about you, but this has changed me. It makes me a better person. And when we come together to do God's work, we bring heaven on earth. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's worth mentioning that our last three organists have good biblical names: Andrew, Timothy, and Esther. And we're so proud of that. And I want to mention... one more thing. Because we have been so well inebriated over this last hour by this great music, the Women's Christian Temperance Union is welcome to join us in the reception. Because in our church, everyone is welcome all the time. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.